I know I wrote a book, right? It's called Buy a Game and it's free. Click the link down there. You got it.
DreAllDay.com.
What's going on, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. So here we are. 2017 NBA playoffs are set to begin today, Saturday. I'm recording this it's Thursday. I'm in a hotel in St. Louis right now. I just got done speaking at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference, speaking on the topics that y'all know me well for: mental toughness, confidence, discipline. Same stuff I talk about on my podcast every day, stuff I talk about in my weekly motivations, some of my other videos here, stuff I talk about on Snapchat every day. Spoke to a group of entrepreneurs, digital marketers, C-level executives and managers about those topics today. And I'm telling you something, I fucking killed that presentation. If you want to see it, go to DreAllDay.com. It's probably not up there yet today, but it will be up there over the next week. And we debut on the new DreAllDay.com too very soon. So make sure you check that regularly so you can see what we got going on. But anyway, here we are for the playoff preview. I like to do this every year, talk about who I think is going to win series in the playoffs. Since this is the first round, we're going to do it very simple. I'm going to do the Eastern Conference in one video, Western Conference in another video. I'm putting them both out at the same time, Saturday morning before the playoffs begin. And then as we get into the second round, I may do series by series because there's only going to be 4 total series between the East and the West. And then conference finals, probably the same thing. And then the NBA finals, I like doing it game by game because that was fun last year with the Cavs and the Warriors. And I picked the Cavs before that series began. You go back and find it. You can see that I did pick the Cavs before that series began, while most people quit on the Cavs after 2 games. But that's a different story. We'll talk about that later, if it even comes to that. But what I'm going to do before I even get into the playoff matchups, I'm going to talk about the teams who did not make the playoffs and just give my 2 cents on those teams. So let's get right into it. First, let's start at the bottom. The Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference. I have no idea what the Nets are doing. The Brooklyn Nets were giving players rest. Like Brook Lopez, who's I guess the best player on the Nets, was taking games off for rest. Brook Lopez took several games off for rest during the season. How the hell could you look yourself in the mirror as Brook Lopez, knowing that you took a game off for rest when your team has the worst record was it the worst record in the whole NBA? The worst record in the whole NBA. Your team's the worst in the whole league. How could you even I know sometimes the coach just comes to you and say, hey, I want you to take a game for rest, or the training staff, like, fuck that. Like, I'm the best player on this team that's terrible. How could I can't even say to the coach, okay, I'm going to take a game off for rest, coach, after we just lost the last 3 in a row. What are you resting from? You haven't achieved anything. They have no achievements that you need to take a break from. You need to keep working. How could Brook Lopez even accept that? I don't even understand that. Like, how as a player who's in the NBA getting paid to play basketball that you could take a game off for rest? Like, I understand. I didn't like it, but I understand LeBron taking a rest. But Brook Lopez on the worst team in the league? What are you doing? And the Brooklyn Nets don't even own their draft pick this year. So it's not like they're resting him so they hope they get the number 1 pick, because they can't get it. Their pick goes to the Boston Celtics no matter what they do. So I have no idea what the Brooklyn Nets are doing, because that just makes no... But anyway, forget the Brooklyn Nets. Philadelphia 76ers. Now we know they've been, like, I don't know what you even call it, just struck by some type of bug when it comes to injuries. Maybe their training staff sucks. Maybe they've just been unlucky. Who knows? Joel Embiid is the man. When Joel Embiid can play an entire season healthy, Joel Embiid is going to be a damn all-star. So I don't know if he's going to win Rookie of the Year, but forget Rookie of the Year. Joel Embiid is a damn star. He can go. Now, if you pair him with Dario Saric, was the number 3 pick in the draft, and he can play. I had him on my fantasy team for a couple weeks at the end of the season. Saric can play. Then you got Ben Simmons, who missed all of last year, and he's going to be... Brett Brown, the coach, said he wants to try Ben Simmons playing the point, and if Ben Simmons can translate some of what he was doing last year in Summer League before he got hurt into playing for the actual Sixers, I'm not sure they're a playoff team, but, I mean, they won 28 games this year, and 41 wins would have got you into the playoffs. Maybe it will be. I mean, Joel Embiid only played, 31 games? So get him for all 82. Let's say he plays 82 games. Let's say 70 games out of the season. And then you put Ben Simmons in there, and he's okay. I mean, he's going to be a rookie. Playing point guard in the league is the toughest position to play as a rookie in the NBA. So put Ben Simmons on there, give us Embiid for 70 games. I think the Sixers can make the playoffs next year, if those 2 guys are healthy and the rest of the team is contributing. They got a lot of contributors on the team. Who's the other? It don't even matter. We ain't going to talk that much about teams that make the playoffs. Orlando Magic. I have no idea what they're doing. The Orlando Magic they already had Nikola Vucevic, who I think is a good player. They traded for Serge Ibaka when they traded Vic Oladipo. So there you got 2 bigs right there. But they already had Aaron Gordon on the team, who is not a small forward. They thought they were going to play him as small forward at the beginning of the season. I said it in my season preview. Aaron Gordon is not a small forward. He can't shoot. He's not a guy who should be standing on the perimeter and shooting threes. He's a guy who should be using his quickness and ability, his quickness and athleticism to beat slower bigs off the bounce to get to the rim. That's what he should have been doing all year. They finally got what did Orlando do? I don't even know what they did. They started playing Aaron Gordon at the they traded Serge Ibaka to the Raptors. They start playing Aaron Gordon at the 4, and all of a sudden Aaron Gordon starts playing well. Is that a I don't know. Did people not understand that? But anyway, next topic. Next team. What else I want to say about Orlando? Nothing. We're not wasting time. And they signed Bismack Biyombo. Why? I don't know. Bismack Biyombo, I knew he was going to get paid based on the way he played last year in the playoffs against the Heat and also against the Cavs. But Bismack Biyombo is still Bismack Biyombo. That was not a good trade. A good signing by the Orlando Magic. All right, so next, the New York Knicks. All right, we don't know. Nobody knows what's going on with the New York Knicks. And I know there's a lot of New Yorkers watching this video. I know y'all don't know what's going on with New York. They don't know what's going on in New York. Phil Jackson don't know what he wants to do. He wants to run the triangle offense, which is not that not even so much that the triangle offense is outdated. It may be, but the triangle offense works when you got the right type of players. First of all, you need a dominant post type of player. You need a point guard who is a guy who can bring the ball up, pass it, and then spot up and just make open jump shots. Derrick Rose is not that point guard. How you going to try to install the triangle offense and then sign Derrick Rose? Derrick Rose is a point guard who wants to have the ball in his hands as much as possible so he can do his thing. That's how Derrick Rose plays. That's Derrick Rose's mentality. So why would you sign Derrick Rose if you're trying to run the triangle offense? Joakim Noah could do the triangle offense. Porzingis, I'm not sure what we got in Porzingis. I think he's actually better than we've seen from him so far because he's playing for the Knicks. If he's playing for another team where he could actually expand his game without Carmelo and Derrick Rose on the team, I mean, how much do you think you would get the ball if you was on the team with Carmelo Anthony and Derrick Rose? All right, if you went to the gym and played pickup with Carmelo Anthony and Derrick Rose, listen, you better be a defensive stopper, a spot-up three-point shooter, a guy who is okay with not dribbling much, maybe not even shooting much, because Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony want the damn ball. And if either one of them doesn't have the ball, he's doing nothing. What's Derrick Rose do when he doesn't have the ball? What's Carmelo Anthony doing when he don't have the ball? These guys need the ball in their hands. Porzingis is the future of the Knicks, but unfortunately, Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony are in the way. Now, Derrick Rose is a free agent this year. Derrick Rose ain't coming back to the Knicks. Okay, I'm willing to bet a lot on that. I don't even know how much. Derrick Rose ain't coming back to the Knicks. So Knicks fans, I don't think any Knicks fans gonna cry because Derrick Rose left, but he's not coming back. Hopefully the Knicks get a high draft pick. They get a damn point guard in there, and maybe Carmelo Anthony accepts the trade. He got a no trade clause. He don't want to leave New York because he don't want to feel like he got ran out of New York by Phil Jackson. It's a pride thing. I understand. I'll probably be in the same mindset as well. Like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm just stay here and you got to pay me till my contract run out because, no, fuck you, Phil Jackson. I would feel the same way that I think Carmelo feels. I don't know if he actually feels that way, but we think he may feel. But he does need to go if Phil Jackson and the system run the triangle offense. Carmelo Anthony ain't no triangle offense player. Carmelo Anthony ain't a Jordan, a Shaq, or a Kobe type of guy. He's a guy, he's a scorer. He wants to isolate and do his thing. They tried Mike D'Antoni there. Carmelo killed that. They tried Linsanity. Well, Linsanity was working. Carmelo came back from his injury, and he killed Linsanity. So Carmelo Anthony just wants the ball. He want to play for the Knicks, make his money, and I guess, I don't know, miss the playoffs for the rest of his career. That's what he wants to do. He's a man. He can do what he wants. New York, I'm sorry. I don't have anything positive to say about y'all, except Porzingis is really good if you get Melo and Derrick Rose out the way. And what else was I going to say about it? I can't even think of nothing positive to say. Forget the Knicks. Next, the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets took a step backwards this year. They made the playoffs last year, lost in the first round to the Heat in a hard-fought series, and they took a step backwards this year. 36-46 was their record. This was a disappointing season for the Charlotte Hornets. I didn't watch any of the Charlotte Hornets this year. One thing I do know is that Nick Batum has been a really good player on that team. I know that Marvin Williams has turned into a solid player. MKG has turned into a solid player. But, I mean, you ain't making the playoffs with just solid players. You need good players. Kemba Walker is very damn good. Kemba Walker is really good. But Kemba Walker, at his really good best, is not enough to get this team into the playoffs, meaning they need more pieces. So what they have right now ain't enough. And even if those guys have played great, let's say they win 5 more games, they make the playoffs, they still getting put out in the first round. So Charlotte needs more. They need more people. We don't believe you, Charlotte. Next, the Detroit Pistons. I don't like the way this team is constructed. They got way too many wing players. They got the Morris twin. They got Tobias Harris. They got KCP, he's kind of a wing player, but he can play the guard spot. I'm talking about like more of that hybrid forward type of guys they got. They got Tobias Harris. They got who's the Morris twin. They got Stanley Johnson, the kid that they drafted. And he ain't going to get a chance to really see what he can do with those two guys in his way, because both of those guys are relatively young and they want the ball as well. You got Andre Drummond, who, how good is Andre Drummond? I'm not sure. I think, have we seen the best that we're going to get out of Andre Drummond? Is this pretty much the guy he is? I'm inclined to say yes. This is pretty much all you're going to get out of Andre Drummond. He is who he is. Now, if I'm wrong, y'all correct me. Tell me if Andre Drummond can do more than what we've seen. I think he's a guy who's going to grab a ton of rebounds. 15 rebounds he can get. He can get you maybe 14, 15 points, and that's pretty much what you're going to get out of Andre Drummond. That's it. That's who he is. If I'm wrong, let me know that I'm wrong. If there's something keeping him from expanding his game, tell me what it is. Something outside of himself keeping him from expanding his game, let me know what it is. Reggie Jackson is a very talented player. I don't see a team winning with Reggie Jackson as their starting point guard. I don't think with Reggie Jackson as your starting point guard, your team's going anywhere. Maybe you'll make the playoffs. They made it last year. They were 4 games out of making the playoffs this year, but you ain't going nowhere. I mean, then they get swept by the Cavs last year. It wasn't, I mean, with Reggie Jackson, he's a great scorer. He's a great guy you bring off the bench, and he comes in there and lights the shit up and just starts scoring on people, like Jamal Crawford type, but at the point guard position. Yeah, Detroit need to do some retooling on that team. It ain't what they got right now ain't gonna work. And I like Stan Van Gundy, but that team is just not in the right position. The Miami Heat, wow, they started off the season playing pretty terribly. They stormed back to a 41-41 record. They became a tough team to beat. Whiteside puts up, he's a great rebounder. He can score some points. I don't think you build a team around Hassan Whiteside, though. I think you need someone else and then let Whiteside be the number 3. I think the number 3 or so guy on the team. If he's the number 2 guy, I'm not sure how far you're going as a team. James Johnson lost like 30 pounds during the season. That's amazing. I didn't really pay much attention to him, but he had a great year this year. Goran Dragic did his thing. They got a lot of young guys, great young nucleus, and they got a great coach in Eric Spoelstra. So the Heat, I think they're on their way up. They're on their way up. They can keep that team together. They will make the playoffs next year. So that's it for the Miami. That's it for the teams that didn't make the playoffs. Now let's talk about the teams that did make the playoffs. How about that? Wouldn't that be funner? Eastern Conference. Number 1 seed, Boston Celtics against the number 8 seed, Chicago Bulls. Boston Celtics fans, I wouldn't be too comfortable about this series. Even though y'all the number 1 seed and the Bulls the number 8 seed, I wouldn't get too comfortable about this series. Because, first of all, Jimmy Butler, there's nobody on Boston who, if Jimmy Butler's going to do Jimmy Butler things. I think he's going to score between 30 and 40 points. He's going to score in the 30s in this series if it's competitive. The only way the Bulls, Jimmy Butler's going to average in the 30s this series. I don't know what Dwayne Wade's going to do. I thought Dwayne Wade was out for the season, and then I saw him play the last couple of games. Dwayne Wade will get you, I think Dwayne Wade can up his game and get you somewhere around 20 points a game in the playoffs. That's what he'll do. Rajon Rondo is, maybe this is like the Boston revenge series for Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo can play when he wants to. And in the playoffs, when the lights are on and everybody's watching, Rajon Rondo wants to play. And that's why for Boston, I wouldn't be too comfortable about this series. The Celtics, we know what they have. Isaiah Thomas proved himself one of the top scorers out there in the second half of the season. Really, really dominant. Avery Bradley is a hell of a guard defensively. He can really lock up on D. Marcus Smart, tough, hard-nosed player. He's not much offensively, but he's a hard-nosed player. Al Horford, I'm a fan of Al Horford. He's not going to put up crazy stats, but he's a great player to have on your team. I would want Al Horford on my team. Let's put it that way. I think Boston wins this series, but I think it ain't going to be no walk in the park. This ain't going to be no walk in the park series. I think if Jimmy Butler decides he's really going to ball, these are 3 ifs for the Bulls. If Jimmy Butler decides he's really going to ball and show how great he is with everybody watching, because most casual fans ain't pay much attention to the Bulls this year because they were like a middle-of-the-pack average team. If Jimmy Butler does that, if Dwayne Wade plays like playoff Dwayne Wade, meaning Dwayne Wade usually plays at a higher level in the playoffs than he does during the season, if that happens, I'm pretty sure that one's going to happen. Jimmy Butler, I don't know what Jimmy's going to do, but I think he's going to average in the 30s this series. And here's the big one. If Rajon Rondo decides he wants to show up and actually play, the Bulls can beat the Boston Celtics. They can beat them in 7. I think they can beat the Celtics in 6. But I'm not picking the Bulls. I'm picking the Celtics to win this, but I think it goes 7 games. I think Boston beats Chicago in 7 at home, game 7. That's why they got home court advantage. Next series, number 2 versus 7, Cleveland Cavaliers, Indiana Pacers. For some reason, I think LeBron James is a hell of a defensive player, but for some reason he seems to Paul George always seems to have really good games against LeBron James offensively. Why does Paul George score so many points against LeBron James? Another thing about Paul George, the last 10 to 12 games of the season, he was averaging over 30 points a game. Paul George, where the hell were you the other 70 games of the season before the last 12 games? Why weren't you playing like that all year? That's the type of play, the way he played the last 10 to 12 games of the season, that's what you pay max contract money for. That's the kind of guy you say, all right, we building our franchise around this guy. Paul George didn't start playing like that to the last 12 games of the season. So, Paul, where the hell were you at the rest of the NBA season? I don't know. He was averaging 22 points a game. What was Paul George's scoring average this year? It wasn't too impressive for a guy making a max contract whose main thing is scoring points. I mean, that's Paul George's main thing. He scores points. I mean, he ain't Kawhi Leonard on defense. And Kawhi even averaged 26 a game. So Paul George needs to step his game up and step it up for an entire season, not just for a stretch of games. I think Paul George is going to have a great series against the Cavs because he always seems to play great against LeBron. I think LeBron has a soft spot for Paul George. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say LeBron don't play as hard on D as he could when he's playing against Paul George. And Paul George just be scoring on him in ways that I'm like, why does he keep scoring on LeBron James? LeBron don't know how to play defense. But anyway, the Pacers ain't winning this series. They ain't got enough pieces. They got Lance Stevenson, and Lance Stevenson is 4 years too late to be playing on the Pacers. He should have stayed there from the beginning. The Cavs are going to win this, and how many games can the Pacers win? I think the Cavs win in 5 because I think the Cavs know that everybody's looking at them like, man, the Cavs ain't the same team. The Cavs can't beat the Warriors right now. LeBron James ain't really playing. He's taking all these games off of rest. Kyrie can't guard nobody. Kevin Love can't guard nobody. Kyle Korver can't guard nobody. Darren Williams can't guard nobody. The Cavs' defense is not very good, and that's what people are saying. That's also true. Their defense is not very good, but LeBron is still the man. He's still the best player in the world. The Cavs are still way better than the Indiana Pacers. The Cavs going to win this in 5 because they know that everybody's watching them. They need to go out there and prove that they're ready to actually kill. And it's only because Paul George always plays so good against LeBron, I'm not picking this series to be a sweep. It should be a sweep, but because of the Paul George always getting off on LeBron thing, I say the Pacers going to win at least 1 game, and it's going to go 5. The Cavs going to win in 5. Next series, number 3 versus 6, the Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks. I didn't watch too much of either of these teams this year, but I was thoroughly impressed by DeMar DeRozan's performance this year. This dude started putting the ball in the basket better than he ever did. He was killing it from the mid-range because I read an article about him that he's a huge Kobe fan, so he was taking all Kobe stuff and kind of adding it to his game. And I don't watch DeMar DeRozan and think Kobe Bryant, but look, he added those skills to his game and he upped his game this year. Averaging, what did he average? Close to 30 points a game this year. So DeMar DeRozan, I respect that he stepped his game up and stepped his scoring up. He's a star. Kyle Lowry is also still a star. The Raptors had a solid team. I mean, they were second best team in the conference last year. Then they added a guy like Serge Ibaka, who's a good defensive player, great team defensive player. The Raptors have a strong defense. The Milwaukee Bucks, all right, they got the Greek freak. Jabari Parker's out for the season. Chris Middleton's a good player. He's not a great player. He's a good player. The Bucks just don't have enough. They ain't got enough pieces to really make this interesting. I don't think the Raptors are a dominant enough team to sweep the Bucks. And I don't think the Bucks are a good enough team to win 2 games in this series. Therefore, I say the Raptors, they show up and actually come out here like they're ready to take care of business. If they do that, and I think they will. Because the Raptors are a team that's kind of been not talked about much in the East this year. Because everybody's looking at the Cavs to see what they do. Then you got with Boston Celtics, they had a great year. Isaiah Thomas, all those great big fourth quarter scoring binges, people talking about them. The Wizards, who started off terribly, and then they finished the season playing great. Then you got the team like the Bucks, the young upstart team who hasn't been to playoffs in a while, and the Greek freak. Nobody's really paying attention to Toronto, but they're damn good. So I think they're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. They have no reason to be complacent. I mean, they got beat in the conference finals last year pretty soundly. So I think they have no reason to be complacent, unlike the Cleveland Cavs. The Raptors are going to come out here with something to prove. If they had a little more firepower, I would call this series a sweep. Because I don't think the Bucks are good enough to really compete with the Raptors in a playoff series. But because I don't think the Raptors have enough gunpowder to really blow a team out the gym, I say the Bucks win 1 game and the Raptors win this in 5. Because I think the Raptors are going to come to play this playoffs. And nobody's talking about that yet. And that second round matchup, Raptors-Cavs, if that happens, that ain't going to be no walk in the park series. But we got to see how the Cavs play. So that's it that's the 3-6. One more series in the Eastern Conference. Washington Wizards against the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Washington Wizards, I'm a huge fan of John Wall. I was not that much of a fan of Brad Beal, but he really stepped his game up this year. He stayed on the court this year, and the Wizards really started balling this year. I like the team that they have. I like Gortat. He just plays his role. He's not a guy who needs more touches than nothing. He plays his role. I like Markieff Morris on that team. They got a lot out of their role players. Otto Porter started actually looking like a high lottery pick this year. Kelly Oubre Jr., great energy guy coming up off the bench. They got Bogdanovic from the Brooklyn Nets. Great pickup because that dude can hit those outside shots. Scotty Brooks is looking like a pretty good coach. And John Wall's a damn stud. You got John Wall matching up with Schroeder. John Wall is going to cook Dennis Schroeder. So all the people watching this from Germany, I'm sorry, John Wall is going to cook him this series. The Atlanta Hawks, they're one of these teams, they always in the same position. They always like the 3, 4, 5, 6 seed. They always make the playoffs. They're a team you can't sleepwalk against them because they will run up and beat you, but they're not really a contender. They're not beating anybody when it matters. They're not getting past the second round of the playoffs. This team is not, they're a team that I don't consider them to be for real, but they always around. It's one of those teams. They're kind of like in no man's land. When's the last time the Hawks had like a really high draft pick, lottery pick? It's been, I can't even remember because they always making the playoffs, but they never a contender to go to the finals. So I don't know if I would be excited if I was a Hawks fan, even though they keep making the playoffs. What are they actually going to do? Paul Millsap is the man. Dwight Howard, I don't know what Dwight Howard is at this point. I have no idea what Dwight Howard is. Tim Hardaway Jr. has played the best ball of his career in the second half of the season with the Atlanta Hawks. Tim Hardaway Jr. been balling. Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to have at least one 25-point game in this series, and the Hawks are going to win that game. At least one game he's going to score 25, the Hawks are going to win. Mark my words on that. What else? Ain't really nothing to say about the Atlanta Hawks. As long as the Wizards show up and they come to actually play, and they do need to come to play because the Hawks ain't no walk in the park. They one of those teams, again, they not no contender, but they will beat you in a game. I say this series goes 6, and the Wizards win it in 6. And for them to win it in 6, they got to win on the road. And only because I saw them go and take teams out on the road, like the Toronto Raptors, and even a couple years before that, I believe it was the Bulls they took out in the first round in road games. I think they are seasoned to go on the road and win. And John Wall was on those teams, and he's still the best player on the team. Because of that, I think they can win in 6, take out Atlanta. Now, the Wizards really come to play. No, I can't even see them winning in 5. I don't think they got enough killers to win in 5. And the Hawks ain't a lay down team to lose in 5, depending on who they playing. They ain't going to lay down. They just have to get their ass kicked. And I don't think the Wizards ready to kick anybody's ass, but they will win. I say Wizards in 6, but I would not be super surprised. I'm going to go out on a limb with this one. I wouldn't be super surprised if the Hawks win in 6. I wouldn't be super surprised if the Hawks win in 6. If Mike Dunleavy Jr. is making shots, Tim Hardaway Jr. scores like 25 3 or 4 times, and he's been scoring 20-something points a lot of times. So if that happens, Paul Millsap comes out and does Paul Millsap things. He's the guy on that team who shows up every damn night. He's the heart and soul of that team. Bazemore, you got Cephalosha. I could see either team winning this series in 6. I really could. And I think the Wizards could beat Boston in the second round. I think they can beat Boston or the Bulls. I think the Wizards should be in the conference finals. I think this series is going to be the toughest series for the Wizards between the first round and the second round. They got to get through this one. I think this can go 6. It could go 7, and I think either team can win, but I'm going to go with Wizards in 6. That's my pick. All right, so first round matchups. Y'all got it now? I picked Boston in 7. I picked the Cavs in 5. The Raptors in 5, and the Wizards in 6. Those are my first round picks, Eastern Conference. Make sure you check out the Western Conference video. Y'all know my name, DreAllDay.com. Work on your game.